is there. You can go look for yourself. If you're watching the video, you're seeing exactly the same thing that I'm seeing. It's an incomplete goddamn statement. It's completely missing. There's nothing there. There's no context. This is just ridiculous. What is... Oh, my God. Why does this have to happen? I try my best. All I wanted to do was have fun and see, what do they think is common sense? We didn't get past page 1.
We are living in an artificially induced state of consciousness that resembles sleep. The poor and the underclass are growing. Racial justice and human rights are non-existent. We have been lulled into a trance. They have made us indifferent to ourselves, to others. We are focused only on our own gain. That is their primary method of survival. To keep us asleep, keep us selfish, keep us sedated.
You're listening to Toward Anarchy on the Republic Broadcasting Network. Here's your host, Michael Storm.
Welcome to Toward Anarchy. I'm Michael Storm. Thank you so much. Yeah, sure, why not? Let's just start right off just like that. That always makes it wonderful. Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate you taking the time. Welcome to my little sandbox on the internet, my space where I get to set the rules. I get to make the rules. It's kind of great. You get to come in and participate and play along with it all. I invite you in to do that, and it's a voluntary relationship. Us anarchists like that kind of thing. But in a lot of ways, it's also a lot like the Constitution and how it is such a great document that keeps America in check. Well, it keeps America's government in check. The people use it to keep the government in check, supposedly. But it works a lot like that in this sense when you come to my playground. You get to interact with it and play with it a little bit, and you get to see what it's all about. And if you wanted to, you can even voice your opinion and get involved a little bit. There are various ways to do that. But when it really comes down to is I'm in control and nobody else. I get to make all the decisions. That's how it is with the Constitution, right? You kind of get to play around with it and all, but in the end, you don't make the rules. You're not a part of it. You're not going to change anything. And certainly marching down the street waving banners isn't going to do much about it either. It never has. If it was going to do something about it, don't you think it would have by now? Don't you think it would have changed? Don't you think that any of the things that people have done, including what I'm doing, talking about anarchy and talking about true freedom and liberty and the ideals behind that, do you think if any of that actually worked to change the system and to change things for the better, that it wouldn't have done so by now? At this point, we already could reach anybody. It's been a long time. Mass communications have been a thing for 100 plus years, we'll just say. And they, it didn't take the internet to connect everybody. It didn't take the internet to get messages across to people and reach large numbers of people and to try to change minds. And people like myself have been communicating thusly for many, many moons, as it were, and there has been no change. In fact, things have just continued to get worse, and that can be a little bit disheartening when you stop to think about it. And unfortunately, when you're having technological problems and just one thing after another, sometimes you end up having a little more time to think about some of those things, and you have to give yourself some serious consideration. Is it, is it even worth doing to turn on the microphone and have an opinion and say it out there out loud when you know that ultimately it's not going to change much? Yes is the answer for me, because it's really an easily answered question, because once again, this has always been an exercise in keeping me sharp, in working the brain and making sure that I'm just paying attention, that I know what's going on, and that when people say something to me, it doesn't take 6 or 7 times for me to get it. Yes, that's right, I'm in on the joke. And it really doesn't. It just, I get it, and oftentimes I want to share it, and so I have my little space, and I come do my thing, and we have a little bit of fun, but it is my space, and I'm glad. I'm glad that I get to have it, because it does do for me that one thing, which is just keep me sharp. It keeps me on the pulse. It keeps me doing what everybody else is doing. I'm doing literally what most of the world is doing right now, which is either consuming some sort of entertainment or information along these lines, or producing it, or both. And so here we are. I'm on one side of it rather than the other side of it. I'm on both sides of it. I do plenty of my own consumption, and I happily consume it. I enjoy it. I only have just so much time here, and I'm doing what I can do to make my differences in the world. I'm raising my children right. I'm being the good person that I can be. I'm creating a business and trying to, I'm not creating a product, but I'm creating a space for other people to bring their product, and that's just as needed as any product may or may not be. Certainly the space for people to bring their things, that free market, as it were. Well, it's free to come in the door. You got to spend some money sometimes in there, but that's where, if it wasn't there, if you couldn't do it, it's one of the few places left. I've chosen purposely to follow a career path, a business path that is disastrous for many people, because there is no money to be made in it. It's more important for me, just as this is, more important to do for me and to do what's right by the people that I call my customers and my friends and my family and the people that I'm around, to do what's right by them in leaving something that I think is good. And I think that being entertained, I think that entertaining yourself, I think that reading and artistic pursuits, I think these things are all fantastic and amazing. And if you listen to the show, I've given you the reasons over and over again, and I will repeat them until I'm blue in the face, but just not today, because I have other things to be blue in the face about today. Just to fill in a couple of gaps there. The technology thing and the troubles, and so I'll do that here in just a second, but just let me finish saying what I was saying about where you can find me in my little space on the internet. TowardAnarchy.com, that's the place to follow along, and also you can find me on X and Instagram and Facebook at Toward Anarchy, and it's always real simple to just please do it real quick while you're thinking about it. While I'm thinking about it, click that like button. Make sure I say it. And you can always follow along, again, at TowardAnarchy.com. And that is truly my little digital playground, my space that I've created. Cat, you better just get yourself right out of that idea. Hang on. I have to stop my cat from climbing into a new box of comic books. It's comic book. It's always comic book day in my world. And there's a box sitting right there, and it's looking at me all innocent, like, you know how cats are, boxes. They want to, that's their thing. Just don't do it. Just don't do it. I just have to go get this, or it's going to do it. It's okay. You're fine, kitty. You just can't be in the box. So I just happened to glance over and see I'm surrounded by comics and cats and Lego minifigures, and it's all precious, and it's all just keep your hands off, wear your gloves. No, I'm not really that bad about it, but I don't want my stuff destroyed. I don't want cat claw marks all over my new comic books. It's not necessary, especially that anthology book. It's Hello Halloween. There's an R.L. Stine story in there. There's a half a dozen other upwards of half. I don't know. It was like 3, 4, 5, 6 or 7 stories in there. And it was all about anthologies this week. It was actually kind of cool. There was several different anthologies, and I was just thinking about how it's crazy that the comic book industry doesn't have more anthology work. The independents, they're finally catching on, and there's more anthology work being done today than there has been in recent years, for sure. And this is coming from someone who's seen it for the last decade, just about every comic book that's come out. That's not to say that I've had it, that I've read it, and it's just that I'm in the loop. I'm sort of paying attention, and there has been a lack. There's always some. But there are very few that really stand out and that are managed well and hold on and continue to go, sort of full steam ahead. And it's a crazy market. That's what I was saying about being, just totally in a market, in a business that is just. It's crazy to be in. It's hard to make money in it. It's very difficult. You have to set yourself apart, and I'm working on doing that. We've done very, very well considering the challenges that we've had going into it all. But that whole idea of having to put in the work and make the effort to bring it all together, and for it to be small, it has to be rewarding because the return on it is kind of small, and so I get it. Well, I get why these companies will come and go and why they won't do things. But there are a plethora of artists. There are many writers out there. There are all these people that want to create, and there are all of these places. This is the big thing. The independents are great at this. They do what they can, and they do it as well as they can. EC is great. EC Comics is great at it. They've been doing it for years and years. I think it's Oni Press now is who they're teamed up with, or who owns them, or I'm not sure exactly what the relationship is there. If EC is still its own independent thing, there are different. Image is one of those places where there are a whole bunch of different mastheads underneath it. Image is just a place where it's a creator house. It's a place where different creators can come and do these things, and it's a crazy thing that there's not a lot of Image anthology work. How is that not a thing? Dark Horse used to have Dark Horse Presents, and it was big for years and years. But so again, they come and they go. But the big guys, this was my question: is Marvel and DC? Are you serious with these guys, where they have all of these properties, they want to make all of this money, and they're trying every single way they can to do it? All they have to do is use their leverage as a big printer, as a big publisher, and not the printer themselves, but as a publisher to leverage their what they do print with the printing companies and the distributors to distribute at costs that are reasonable for people to buy into these things. Keep them at that $3.99 rate, or if you can, try to beat it. I don't know if you can anymore. Image kept it at $2.99 for so long, and was only fairly recently that they had to break to the $3.99 thing, and it's just it's a matter of time before it'll be $4.99, and But the big guys have the ability to do this. They always have worked on Lost Leaders. Marvel and DC, they have big selling books, and everything else doesn't sell, and they print very little of it. But if they were to concentrate on, a bunch of that stuff that they print, these short runs, stories, these things could be easily pulled into anthology works where the books themselves, the anthology books themselves, continue, and the stories within them change, and then you don't have all of these other titles and places and spaces that you have to manage. You have one title with a lot of leeway, a lot of free, or, a couple of different titles. DC has Action Comics, and it has, sometimes Brave and the Bold, and sometimes they'll do Showcase or not Showcase, Presents. They've been different things over the years, and there's Detective Comics, of course, but they're all so very much centered on those characters. Those main characters, Superman, Batman. And that's fine, except that you're missing the opportunity to have a very perfect space to present all that other work and all those other artists and all those other creators, and you could go hog wild on covers because you've got an anthology books. It has 6 or 7 stories in it. You're gonna get them all day. Sorry. It's got 6 or 7 stories in it, and all these different creators and all these different artists. It justifies having all the different covers, doesn't it? If I've got 6 or 7 different artists, he just keeps them coming. On these titles, you don't have to have 6 or 7 titles. You just have 2 or 3 titles. You have the 6 or 7 stories and artists and writers in those books, and you have the different covers, and it's justified. You don't have to explain, why do I have Batman on a Superman cover, or, when he doesn't have anything to do with the book. It's just some artist, it's just some other cover, it's just whoever had to do what at the time. There's not as much of that as could be, but there's enough of it that it could be eliminated by simply doing that. It would be these creative houses, DC and Marvel, have clearly missed the boat on anthology books, and they're right up their aisle in terms of the cost in producing them and putting them out there. It's just so much. It's just so well, because the fact that you get 6 or 7 stories in a book, you get this entire playing field with all this extra space to do things in, and it's managed under one mass. It doesn't have to be controlled. It just has to be guided, and it's cheap. It's easy. It's simple for them because you get that big book, and you can justify the $7, $8, $9, $10 price tag on it. If we're looking at 64 pages, if we're looking at more than 64 pages. If you're looking at these big fat books, which the EC anthology books and some of these others, that Hello Halloween was pretty chunky this week. All of these different books are they're the size of them and the quantity and quality of the storytelling and the different choices in the various stories it's all self-evident. It's all right there. It's in the price. It makes sense, and it just seems weird to me that Marvel and DC have missed the boat. Go to towardanarchy.com to follow along. Have missed the boat. Go to towardanarchy.com to follow along, and when you get there, you're looking for episode. What episode are we looking for? It's 2534 is what it is. If you go there and it's not up there, right there, you see it only shows 2533. Alan Katz, that was the last conversation I had here with somebody. But what do? We click on the episodes button, we find 2025, and there it is. You can see right there, if you're watching on the video, No King's Protest, it's 2534, that's the episode number, and that's because I was thinking about these No King's protests and the very notion of them, and it was funny because they happened, and nobody noticed, nothing happened, all of the rhetoric and all the hype and everything from both sides and the calls for violence and all of it all went by the wayside. None of it mattered, nothing changed, nothing happened, so I guess I'm done talking about the King's protest. Now, I will elaborate on the subject as I go along throughout the day. I have all these links, as always. If you go to towardanarchy.com and you look for 2534, you get there, you see the info. There's 6 or 7 links right there, And every week there is. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 6 or 7 links right there. And we'll dive into all of those and chat about those. I wanted to bring your attention to the fact that one of the reasons that I do this, I don't know, man. I don't know. If I didn't have the connection with the network, I may not be doing this. I may not have brought myself around to do this at all like I have for the last 6 years. I've been doing it off and on for the better part of the last 15 years. And, of course, I was in terrestrial radio before that. So, nothing new. But I didn't necessarily have a direction or a place. It's nice to have a home. It's a little rough being just that guy out there that has to do everything. You're trying to stand on your own and make it on your own, and that's all fine and good. But it's great to have a nice foundation. It's great to have some friends. It's nice to have a space that you can whatever, call it a safe space, if you will. That's Republic Broadcasting for me, and I just ask you to support Republic Broadcasting, republicbroadcasting.org. Click on that donate button there. It's a real simple thing to do, and it's right there on the left-hand side. You just click on it. A couple more clicks away from that, and you're making a one-time donation. You're making a donation in any amount. You're making a regular donation. It's all up to you. It's all controlled by you. You make the decisions. You, the listeners, have kept Republic Broadcasting on Republic Broadcasting Network on the air, broadcasting for as long as it has, and you'll continue to do so because you're all amazing. But we need you to reach out. You need to be clicking that like button. You need to be sharing. You got to get in there. Even every time, just every time. That's the best thing. No matter what. When I talk about supporting the network, when I talk about supporting the show, the biggest thing that you can do for us, I mean, truly, aside from that dollar, slapping down that dollar and sending it to the network, and that way they are able to pay the bills and to pay the producers and Mike and Julie and everybody. Everybody's taken care of. That's necessary. It's needed. But the real true benefit of it all and your participation in it is necessary these days through the sharing. That's what's required. You got to share those links. You got to be on the social media. You have to be where the conversation is at. I know everybody wants to run. Everybody wants to run over to Truth or TLB Talk. You can't just be there. Those are great places for what they are and for the people that are there and for the tools that are provided, but they lack a certain audience. All of those spaces, Sky, whatever, Blue, I don't know what the hell that is. They won't let me in. Those are spaces. Those are fine places, but they reach a particular audience, and there are other spaces out there, it's been my experience anyway, that are a little bit more less politically sided. I get, overtly politically sided. Maybe that's the way to look at it, because they certainly show themselves from time to time without question and expose their political views. But that's. Yeah, it's neither here nor there. It really isn't. It's just the fact that you guys make it possible, and that when you click that like button or that share button, it's a big deal. But consider clicking the donate button there at republicbroadcasting.org, or visit shoprbn.com. That's really cool, because that's where a number of the different advertisers across the network have brought their products together, and they're available to you. You can get them there. And they know that the advertising is working. They know that you're hearing me say, go to shoprbn.com and buy their products because you bought their product. It's really very simple. It's not the biggest math problem ever. It's not a tough one. We appreciate you. and we truly do, because we couldn't do it without you in terms of having that base, having that home, having that space where all of us can come and have the conversation. And, you know, even those liberal places, as it were, those liberal spaces on the internet where the conversation is a little bit more to the middle maybe than one side of the left or the right or the other, you know, that's why you need an RBN, because those spaces, they are. When you do start to go to a certain direction, you will see them push back, whereas I've been here with RBN for years, and man, if you do a right-wing broadcasting network, I'm just poking at you guys, but seriously, there's no question that it's obviously a right-leaning space. Has been a right-leaning network, libertarian, if not full-on conservative, absolutely Christian. These are all things that I've had my issues with, we'll just say, over the years. Statism and religion are things that I can have a conversation with somebody about, and I could bring up some points here and there that maybe color the conversation a little differently than somebody who is all in on one or more of these things, religion, politics, whatever it is. And that's one of the reasons why I love Republic Broadcasting Network and having the space and having it as my home base. Because I know that there's a core audience that, while they don't necessarily agree with me, they're listening and they're getting the message, and they're coming. You guys are a step closer every time you listen to me to being free. Whether you believe it's because you're believing in an anarchist vision of what liberty is or not doesn't matter. You yourself will find yourself free, and you yourself will find. I cover a lot of stuff. I'm talking about comic books 1 minute, and comic books are not a sort of wasted, funny pages presentation of fantasy. In many cases they are, but in many, many, many more cases they're not. They're representations of reality, and they show, if not just little streaks or visions or points of light and on our society. Some of them are just wide open, mirrors. Take a look at yourself, and very poignant and easy to consume. That's one of the things that was so important about the comic books, is that they're easy to consume, and they cover such a wide array of topics and ideas. There's something for everyone. That's the value of it to me that I was talking about earlier, that makes it worth it, that makes me want to be in an industry, in a business that is tough, that it's hard, that it's specifically for me to make any money doing it. It's easy for me to keep the store open by just trimming down things to a minimum and doing the things that you do to manage the income versus the outgoing things. But to grow it bigger, to attract the larger audience, these are all challenges that I'm up for, but they are challenges. What makes it worth it is the fact that I know that all along I am making people happy, that the things that I do when I sell somebody something, when they come to me and they want to get into or they want to find their fantasy, their joy, their story, their favorite artist, whatever it is, their games. I play a new game, a new board game of some sort, or card game or dice game or something like that, almost every single week, if not more than one. Most of these games anymore take 35 minutes. You got 35 minutes to sit down with the family and throw down a game. I've got some amazing games for you that you could play, and we carry a lot of them in the store. You want to get more in depth? I have the Dungeons and Dragons. I have all that stuff. It's all just fantastic and wonderful, and it's amazing. It's amazing fantasies. And if you're ever in Topeka, Kansas, stop in and see us sometime. It'd be really cool if you did that. Say hi. Don't come gunning. I'm not interested. Man, I was thinking about this the other day, and I'll still get back to the technology thing here. I was just thinking about this the other day. What kind of crazy psycho are you that you don't like me? that you take umbrage with something that I've said. I'm very liberal in the sense that I'm happy to let you be you as long as you be me, and so you let me be me. And so when I talk about the things that I talk about and say the things that I say, for somebody to be offended by those things means that they either want me to change who I am. They don't want me to be a certain way. They're offended by who I am, so they're not giving me the same opportunity to be who I am. Or they believe that because I don't like a system or an ideology, that I'm directly speaking about them. I get this from the agorists a lot, because agorism is a leftist, anarchist organization that tries to trick people into buying a certain type of language or ideology in regard to exchanges with other people in the marketplace, in the free marketplace. That they are somehow different in the space that they conduct them versus the space that I conduct them as a capitalist. And so we are at odds on that point, and I am offended by the agorist ideology, just as I'm offended by all of the leftist ideology, all of the ideology that suggests that I am not the person who gets to decide what I exchange, how I exchange, who I exchange it with, how much of what I exchange for or with I collect and keep for myself, so long as I'm not violating other people. And that includes capitalism, because capitalism is the only word that exists to express the idea that what I just said, literally what I just said, that I get to be the person who makes all of those decisions, that nobody else gets to decide them, that the marketplace is open and free, and that I get to make the decisions, and that what decides for me in that marketplace is the conduct of the people that are conducting the business. That's why I'm a good businessman. That's why the business that I'm in is a business that provides people with something that makes them happy and something that educates them and brings wealth to their lives. I absolutely believe that with comic books, 100%. And there are many other things, other places within society that you can do that, other businesses, but this is my space, and why not? Because I've been there, all my life doing it. But speaking of, I wanted to get back just real quick to the tech things, and then we'll get into the 6 or 7. It was 7, right? Links that are up there. You guys are just going to be so sick of it by the time they end of the show, and most of you have no idea what the hell I'm talking about. That's what's great. It's funny. That's what makes it funny. Don't you get it? That's the joke. So I will get into those links in a minute, but I just want to. It's been frustrating because I have that Podmatch system, and I only do the one show a week, and I have just the 1 hour to converse with somebody, and so I have far more people than I need that want to be on the show and to have conversations, more than I want to have conversations with than I could possibly ever have conversations with, without adding more shows, without adding more hours, whatever. That's not happening, at least not anytime soon. And if it does, it probably goes in a different direction. It doesn't end up being the same thing. I would do something else alongside this. But at any rate, I'm limited, and I had that Podmatch system. I've been using it successfully for years, and I only just recently found out, and it came to my understanding, it's not a free service anymore, that they no longer offer a free program, that there's a minimum, I think it was $6 or something like that, if you want to be, it was a reasonable amount, it was $6 a month, and so I didn't have a problem with it, but apparently I'm grandfathered in because I've been a member of it for so long that I exist in this really cool space where I still get the free service when everybody else who's coming on now, when there's, I don't know, tens of thousands of people on there now. It's a lot bigger than it, and it grew really fast too. It's been great. It's been cool to be a part of it, even in the way that I am, and even as a free person, like I've mentioned before, I've always felt like I've been included and that my voice has been heard. I've spoken with the guy who created it, Alex. Personally, multiple times over the years, and electronically, but I don't feel like I'm being left out because I'm just one more guy, and I'm not by any means one of their important guys. There are other people that are doing a show every day, and they're interviewing somebody every day, I imagine. That's happening in some of these spaces. And so there are people out there that they're making money off of, Podmatch is making money off of them. They don't make any money off of me, but I treat their guests really well, except when their technology screws me, which is what I was getting at. And it wasn't Podmatch's technology that got me. In fact, Podmatch's technology has been flawless. It's just really simple. I go on there, I set up a date with somebody, we plug the date into the side over there, and it sets it up, and there's a space that I can put in there for the link, and all they have to do is click on the link and join the conversation. Boom, we're done. I go right back to that space. I say, yeah, we completed it. I give a 5-star feedback. And I've never not given a 5-star feedback. Everybody that I've met on there has been fantastic. You've heard the conversations; they're all wonderful, and in their own right and for their own thing. They all have their own thing, and everything is right there. It's in the system. It's all worked fine. But I get these people, you've heard me talk about it over the years too, I get these people that they have a problem. They can't figure out the technology. They're not paying attention. I don't know what it is. It's usually the brokers. It's not the individuals themselves, although sometimes it is the individuals. And so I'll get into, we'll have a groove, things will be going, everything's fine, and then you'll hit one of these guys that's like, where's your schedule? What do you mean, where's your schedule? There's the thing right there on the right hand. You're using the system to talk to me. You must be able to see the exact same thing that I'm seeing, or it's a link away, and you're not using it properly. And it's right there. That's when I set the date. It's right there. It pops it up in the screen and shows it in front of you. It says, here's somebody over here set a date, and all you have to do is go over there and change it or make changes and everything. And then all you have to do is on the date is show up and click on that link that's right underneath it. It's all in place. And then I went and screwed with things. Because I every once in a while I would hear one of these people say, "Oh, where's your thing? What's your link?" Whatever. Okay, I have Google Calendar, and I have all these different. I have Microsoft Office 365. That provides an online calendar. There's all these different things. There's Calendly. There's all these different places that you can go and you plug in, and it helps manage your time, and they all, they work as well as somebody who wants to manage their time and have their time be managed by something that's almost as difficult to manage as time itself. They seem like more hassle. It's proof of it. I'm about to give you proof of it. I've passed on using these things over the years because they don't make me do what has to be done. They're not what gets me to do what needs to be done. It's not putting it on a calendar and having a reminder. It's me agreeing and saying that this is what I'm going to do and then going and doing it. That's it. It's not about the reminders and having a space where somebody can click and do this and that and other, interact with me. No, if I'm committed to something, I give you a hard date and time, and that's it. We're there. And that's the way the Podmatch system works, and it's been great. But then I plugged in this stupid plug-in, and I'm not going to name any names, and tried to use it, and I immediately started to have problems, but I didn't attribute it to that. I attributed it to other things. And then after there was another problem, and then another problem, and finally somebody was able to produce a visual that gave me a clue as to what was happening. They're sitting in one space, and I'm waiting for them another, and I'm looking at that space, and I'm going, well, that space looks familiar, but it's not my space. I don't know how you got there. And so I went looking around and digging through the technology, and this calendar not only was double booking me, this is ridiculous. It was double booking me, and And it was creating, because it's a multi-layered thing and it's not talking to itself properly, and there's no reason why it shouldn't have. It doesn't take a genius to figure these things out. It's a date, it's a calendar. You click on it, you put an entry in it, you put a link in there, you put a reminder, it's not genius at all. So for it to be messed up, it's frustrating, but it's exactly what I would have expected and why I've never used one before, why I go with just hard. This is it. This is the date. This is the time. Be there. Here's the link. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to be there. I may remind you the night before or say, hey, just let you know that I'm there, but I set a date with you. I set a time with you. You said yes. I expect you to be there. And 99 times out of 100, people are there, except that I was having this thing, and it just got in the middle of it, and it screwed me for the last few weeks, and I just fixed it just the other day, and unfortunately, it still got one more person, and so now I've had to shuffle everything back to, I missed three interviews, and one was a New York attorney, ADA in New York, former ADA in New York, which hopefully we'll get to him. The Undoctor, and who was the other one? Maybe I'm confusing that one with someone that I try to get with. It's a good. Okay, so let's look at things from the other end, just real quick, because it's a two-way street. There's somebody on the other side of this thing, and oftentimes I am the person on the other side of this thing, because I will go on other people's shows. And I have a fun time just sort of randomly chatting with different people, and so I'm not above going on the other shows. That's one of the things that was great about the Podmatch thing that I'm really grandfathered into, is that I can be a guest on other people's shows, and that's like it requires a much larger investment, because they're expecting that people are looking to promote their things. These are people that are willing to pay to promote their thing and to show up and to produce wealth or try to generate wealth, or both, through what they're doing, whereas I'm just a hobbyist, and so I get in there, I get grandfathered in there for free, and so I get to do what everybody else has to pay like $40 a month to do. I get to do for free. That's really cool. So I got lucky. And I'm still all about the Podmatch system, even for people who are just a hobbyist like myself. Interviewing people. If you don't need that many interviews, you do the one show a week. That $6 thing is pretty good, because you do have access to all of these people out there, and as many. I'm assuming that it's better. It's a better deal, even at that price. I don't know what the price point thing is, but it was just so cool being in that. It was something that I should have never messed with. I should have never done anything else with in there to mess it up, because the relationship that me and the website and the people that I've been bringing to chat with on here have been getting along mostly fairly well. It gets a little bit dubious at times. People get there's some of them. Well, that's what I started to say. So I get invited to the shows, and I've been invited to a show here, and the guy keeps bailing out on me literally at the last minute. This time it was this last Saturday. I was doing it in the morning. I showed up the comic book shop early, so got everything set up so I could wrap up my conversation, pop open the door, and start doing my Saturday thing in the comic book shop, and which includes playing games, which is great. My job, I sell people hundreds, sometimes even thousands of dollars worth of things for them to enjoy and collect and maybe make money on in the future. Who knows? Some of the people are just gambling there. And then I get to sit there and play video games not video games, board games. I'm about to set up a video game station. We have this little space in the upstairs, and it's really cool that we've never really utilized. It's just been some storage space. We have stuff that we want out, but there's no room for on the floor. There's a handful of things like that. And then there's all this clean packing material that I keep. And it's because I refuse to throw stuff like this away. It needs to be recycled, reused, whatever. It's all clean, and I have big trash bags full of it. we've been using it to store up that space. I'm gonna sell off all the trash bags of packing material, and we're going to open that space up to be a meeting space or a little party space, up to maybe like 12 people or something like that. We'll have a couch, we'll have a big screen, have a video game system, maybe a coffee maker, a little refrigerator or something like that, a table for people to cut a cake on, or just a few things like that when you invite people in, we have this great big round table that probably seats 8 or 9 people. It's really designed for a Magic the Gathering tournament ultimately, and it's wonderful because everybody can just sort of sit in the round there. It's not really designed for a Magic the Gathering tournament. I'm talking about the total number of people. It's not really designed for Magic the Gathering. You need to be face to face with somebody, not sitting around a round table. Although there are formats that you could. That's beside the point. You could actually play some Commander where I suppose you could, I don't know what the limitation is on the number of people. I've never thought about it, never thought to ask anybody. But I suppose seemingly it'd just be like a 9-person battle. It's just people attack people, alliances could be made, things like that. At any rate, we have this great big table. And I think it'd be perfect for people to sort of have a meeting around or something. You could have a lunch meeting there, or it'd be really easy for a small kids party or something like that. So that space that's coming. The video games are coming, but I get to do that. That's what I get to do. I get to play games, and I get to help people put a smile on their face and enjoy some of the time in a hard existence. Maybe not as hard as the past, maybe not as hard as somebody in another situation, in another space, but it's still hard enough. And it's great to be a part of making it a little bit better for people. Go to towardanarchy.com. Episode 2534 is what you're looking at. I'll jump into talking about some of these No Kings protests and things that just happened. They just got over with. And I'll give you my thoughts on those, and then I have 6 or 7 other links that we can jump into. I have this wonderful quote, and I thought we'd play a guessing game with the quote, and you could try to figure out who it is that would say this. Who says this? Who is this quote from? I get paid to rob and cage and murder people using political and social opinions as an excuse, and I just don't understand why people don't like me. Who says that? Who says that? Great meme right underneath it that goes right along with it. In case you couldn't figure it out, the meme right underneath it, the image right underneath it, will explain it for you. It's really poignant. It's actually pretty significant, and it makes a good point. MS-13, ISIS, or law enforcement, it asks. And all you do is you see guys dressed in masks, including, I don't know if it's, I imagine that that's doctored. I don't think that face mask. I don't know how much of this is just a straight up picture versus any of it being altered to illustrate a point. But the fact is that you have masked, armed dudes that look like gang members, thugs, criminals. I mean, this is the police without the masks. This is what police look like without the masks. But you throw in the masks and the unmarked vehicles. And I know there's people out there that keep saying that this isn't happening. Well, I don't know what the hell you're talking about, but I've seen the videos, and it's not disputed videos. We're not talking about things where it comes into question about whether or not there might be an alteration of the image here. This thing is image. If this is edited at all, and I believe it is, that it's edited for a point. It makes its point, but it doesn't distract from it. It doesn't change anything to a negative. It doesn't make it like you're trying to say something else and altering the image and hiding it. That's not what's happening here. This is not what's happening with these videos and these images of reporters getting beaten up and people being drug out of their cars at gunpoint in the middle of traffic. It's by armed, masked men who don't care, and there's no recourse against them. And you have to decide whether or not, if I'm sitting, it's going to be a bad day that day. I mean, I've been arrested so many times by armed thugs that look just like these guys without the masks. and that it's not even funny. They've surrounded me on multiple occasions with firearms in public by myself or in public with other people, with high-powered firearms, as well as everything from the pepper balls to trying to run me down on a motorcycle. I've been out there. I've had these thugs come at me, and I've had them come at me when I'm in my car and when I'm not necessarily. I'm just going along, and there shouldn't be any reason why all of a sudden I'm being accosted. I'm not even speeding or something like that. I'm just all of a sudden I'm getting pulled over, and I don't even know why. And there's 3 cars behind me, and there's 5 or 6 or 6 or 7 cops, and they're all heavily armed, and I'm getting pulled out of the car, and the guy is shaking like a leaf on a tree, and I'm cool as a cucumber. I've been there. I've seen all this. I've let it go as many times as I can, but when the masked dudes come running up to the side of the car, if I start shooting, I guess I'm lucky. I'm bald. I'm white. I look like one of them. I look like one of the little Nazi scumbags that are out there, authoritarian scumbags that are out there. It's not fair to call them Nazis. They're not Nazis, but they are enforcing the same sorts of ideologies and acting in the same way that the Nazis did and the brown coats did and all this. So it's certainly an apt comparison. I don't care if you don't like it. If you don't like it, stop doing it. That would be the way to avoid being called a fascist or a Nazi or a scumbag. Stop acting like a Nazi or a fascist or a scumbag. Again, how could anybody hate me with an argument like that? But the agorists have found a way. They don't like me. They don't like being called. They don't like being called socialist, or they don't like being called non-anarchist. But I'm sorry, if you're not letting somebody conduct business in the way that they see fit with their wealth in exchange with who they see, and there's nothing other than violating you or someone you love or someone that's asked you to help them get justice for having been violated by someone. You have no say whatsoever. You can't set up your society. If you do, you set up your society, your enclave, your little commune, whatever you want to call it. You set it up there, your little agorist community. You set it up there and you say, well, we don't believe in things like capitalism. Well, then you don't believe in you're setting up a default, you're either playing a game with words, and this is what I've tried to give them the most credit with, is that they're just playing a word game, and that it's all a bunch of word salad, what they talk about when they're talking about counter-economics. Counter-economy, yes. Counter-economics, complete BS. No such thing. Economics is economics. It's a science, and it's a relatively tight science. And if an idiot like me, and I'm not an idiot, if someone like me, just an average Joe, relatively speaking, certainly in terms of my station in life and my wealth, I have none, the things that I do, I'm a normal guy. But if I can look at these things and tell you that this is the way it's going to happen every single time when you do this, then that's a science. And I can. And so when you do these certain things within the economy, this is what's going to happen. And this is why you get us where we are today, a couple hundred years plus later, 100 years plus later, of manipulated economy at the central bank level, where we're all forced to play along with it, and this is exactly what happens in a collapsing state, in a collapsing economy that props up a corrupt state, is that it lashes out like this, and it puts masks on men and gives them authority to harm other men that doesn't exist without nature's consequences, where somebody shoots back. These guys are being targeted. They're actually putting prices on some of these guys' heads. This is the sort of thing that has happened out there, and I have no pity for them. You know me, I'm not calling for any violence against ICE, but I understand it. It's like the Sam Kinison joke. I don't support wife beating, but I understand it. And again, just a joke, for God's sake, people. It's just a joke. I don't want to hear it. But it's just a funny notion, a funny idea that, yes, you get you understand why you would just want to smack the shit out of somebody, to be completely blunt about it. But you don't. You just don't do it because you're not a violent person, and just because you feel like it doesn't mean that you have to do it, or mean that it's necessary, or that it's and warranted in any way, shape, or form. That's not the point. It's a joke. Oh my God, I shouldn't say things like that because how easy is it to just grab that as a single idea and try to run away with it and sort of catch somebody up on it. Try to, you're going to do the cancel? You're going to cancel me? Yeah, cancel. You can't cancel me. We've discussed this before. It's impossible to cancel me. There's nothing you can do to cancel me because the only thing you can do to cancel me would be to shut me up permanently. Unless you can shut me up permanently and you're willing to take... Why would you? Why would you? I'm arguing common sense. I'm arguing logic. I'm arguing in favor of individual right. And I'm arguing against the manipulations of a majority. I don't care if you like the majority that's in power at the time or what appears to be the majority. When you're talking about democracy, when you're talking about voting, majority it's a problematic phrase. It's not the majority. It's about a third of the population, maybe at the most, and a good majority of the population actually avoids participating in it or participates in it on a level that suggests that they're not happy with the two main selections that are out there and the things that democracy and its shining little beacon leads us to. This is where democracy gets you. I don't know what you think democracy is, why you think democracy is so great, why you think the rule of law is so great, why you think republicanism is so great, why you think Democrats, I don't know what else, liberalism, there you go, I guess, they don't deserve the word, but I'll lend it to them. Progressives, well, it makes sense that we would be here just about to wrap up the hour, just like we started it with a little this is seriously, what about this dog and pony show that's going on here has suggested anything at all about a path on which we can continue down that's going to make it better? Another law, another vote, another politician, another party, another plan, another the executive order? Yeah, slap 50 or 60 of those on there. Let's seal this dictatorship idea up and toss, the dictatorship, but not the thing that allowed him to take power in the first place. And if it didn't allow him to do it, nothing prevented him from doing it, right? That's what, I don't know, one of those guys said, one of those big anarchists from back in the 1800s or something said that, and it makes sense. It's right. That's why whatever amount of it stuck with me. The important part of it stuck with me, and that's all I can convey. It's really, truly all I can convey at this point. We're heading up here to the break, just maybe 2 minutes. And so I'll just point you again to towardanarchy.com. It's episode 2534, and when we come back, I will jump into the 6 or 7 links that are there, and we'll read about them, and we'll make fun of them, and we'll try to make some sense of it all. But mostly we'll just try to have a little bit of laughs and a little bit of fun in it, because I even found this thing, common sense. You've heard of that before? It's a claim. It's a thing that some people claim to have, that very few people actually have. And people throw around the phrase common sense as if the average idiot knows what they mean by it. So we'll look at 30 so-called common sense things most people aren't aware of. I have no idea what they are. I did not look in advance. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I did not. I will say, though, that I read top to bottom, every single one of the other articles, the other 6 or 7 links that I shared with you today. It's not over. There's still another hour to go. There's still an entire hour to go. How many more times can he do it? That's so much fun. I laughed. I laughed nonstop. I truly did. I laughed nonstop. I was like Cartman. In not so quite literally, but Cartman just was falling apart. That it was so funny to be in on something so stupid and so meaningless and have so many people running around going, "What is it? What's it about? Why won't somebody tell me?" Well, I'll give you 6 or 7 ideas when we come back here on Toward Anarchy. We'll be right back.
You lack imagination, Destro. We possess the ultimate weapon of control. People trust television. It's their friend. They believe what television tells them about the news, the weather. Don't you see? We control the creation of truth.
You're listening to Toward Anarchy.
I don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. It's a depression. Everybody's out of work or scared of losing their job. The dollar buys a nickel's worth. Banks are going bust. Shopkeepers keep a gun under the counter. Punks are running wild in the street, and there's nobody anywhere who seems to know what to do, and there's no end to it. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy. The air is unfit to breathe, and our food is unfit to eat. I don't want you to protest. I don't want you to riot. I don't want you to write to your congressman because I wouldn't know what to tell you to write. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation and the Russians and the crying in the street. All I know is that first, you've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm a human being. My life has value.
You're listening to Toward Anarchy on the Republic Broadcasting Network. Here's your host, Michael Storm.
And hour number 2 is upon us, towardanarchy.com to follow along. And when you get there, you're looking for 2534. That's the episode number. Wherever you're listening to the show at, wherever you're finding my posts, please click that like button, tap that like button, whatever it is. It only takes a second to do, and it makes a huge impact. Let's jump right back to it. Towardanarchy.com, 2534. That's the episode. If you can't get there, click that episodes button, and it'll walk you right to it. And you'll see, I plan to talk a little bit about No King's protests. I kind of already did. They didn't do anything, right? That's what happened. Nothing happened. And that's exactly what I would have told you would happen if I had spoken to you about them specifically beforehand. Because I've talked to you about protests. I participated in protests. I have been down on the ground and myself absolutely factually on record leading thousands of people marching in the streets, myself and a couple of other people. But it was at our impetus, at our lead, at our request and our drive. And it was a fantastic, in the one specific episode, there were several, but in the one specific time that that everybody was on our time, that we were the reason that there was a huge gathering of people at the Capitol with permission. I'm doing the Nixon quote thing. I don't know why the hell I'm doing that. You can't see me. But at any rate, to get to the point that we had permission to be there, and we led thousands of people marching in the streets. And we literally had a permit to communicate and to have the conversation, and we're offering up the floor to anyone. And it wasn't until the Black Bloc anarchists came in and started antagonizing the sheriffs and there's in Denver there's just a county there. It's an interesting place. Denver's different. It's organized differently. That's one of the reasons why it gets attention as a potential place for the fact that it's in the middle of the nation, but also in these sort of fantastic tales, I don't know, the Catching Fire or something like that. One of those, where they have these districts and places where people are cordoned off, and certain people live over here and certain people live over there, and there's a capital district. So often there's so many reasons for it. There are a lot of natural reasons why you would go in that direction. Of course, it's just the fact that it's in the middle of the nation. It's harder to get to. You have to get through the rest of the nation to get to it. You set up your capital there. It's not as easy to strike. And there are other numbers of reasons. Some of them are about the configuration and the fact that Denver itself is such a different place in terms of the way it's managed and the way it's policed, and things that you can and can't do in the city of Denver that you can do all around in cities all around Denver. And the way the police force is organized, and just because there isn't one, and it's all county. Everything is county. There's no city. And so it ends up being this place that gets special attention. And of course, DIA, the Denver International Airport, and all the mythology that comes along with that, and facts and mythology that come along with it. It's obviously, as somebody born and raised there, I was there longer than the airport was. And, that Jepson terminal came along well after I was an adult, and well after I understood things like conspiracy and was there to understand them. And boy, there are definitely weird things that exist out there, but they're not as weird as people would have you believe them. And the things about there's misstatements about the murals that are on the walls all the time, and they may not even be there anymore, but they were for the longest time, and I don't know why. And people claim that they're not there all the time, and then every time I've gone back there, of course, they are there, and why wouldn't they be? They were commissioned by very famous. It was a very famous artist that was commissioned to do that. So I don't know the dude's name off the top of my head. But there's all this mythology about them, and it's all easily dismissed. It's all easily disproven. One of the things that happened in COVID, that was one of the pictures that went around. I remember that was hilarious. All of a sudden, all the people in the images, all the different peoples, is a mix of different peoples from different nations and things, and all of a sudden they had face masks on. They had, surgical masks on, and that didn't happen. That wasn't real. Somebody went out of their way to create that and make that look like that, and to try to alter the narrative. And so with stuff like that, let it go. Let it go. It's not worth your time. If you want to see the interesting things, get up off your butt and drive to Denver and go there to the airport and look at the things and see what it is. Go look at the plaque on the floor for the New World Airport Commission that's, doesn't exist in any other place except on that one plaque. Question about the miles of underground tunnels, and could there be a tunnel that goes from Denver, that weird city and its weird configuration politically, are there tunnels that go straight there out to the airport? I don't know. Don't pretend to know. I know that technologically people are capable of doing such things. It wouldn't be that hard to do, and you could use any number of things to cover it up. Any number of sewer work or things like that. There's already a stretch from Denver, downtown Denver, where you would go from the Capitol, where they would claim that this would happen, where you would go from the Capitol in downtown Denver to the airport. It's literally right there on one of the longest commercial stretches of road in the world. And it basically goes from that road basically goes from the Capitol out to the airport. So it wouldn't be that hard to put something right underneath that, or, something parallel to it, or, in and around that area. And nobody would necessarily notice. Even if, and who knows? Just some of the interesting things that happened and occurred in and around my own activism, and showing and being out there on the street and being successful at activism, not like this stuff that you're seeing today where it's just angry people marching around. It evolved into that, but initially when it was us, when we were out there, it was We Are Change Colorado, myself and about 11 other people basically, with others that came and went all the time. And I got involved with them right around the 2011, and there was all of the protests going on in Occupy Denver and all that started Occupy, the entire Occupy movement. Denver was one of the biggest places that it was happening, and it was because of us and others. Obviously, there were many, many other people involved in it, but if you go back and look at the history of it, and it's all documented, we had successful marches. We had marches on the banks and about the banks and pointing out their hypocrisy and their manipulation of the dollar. And we weren't there overturning cop cars and attracting attention and picking fights and turning the law enforcement against us, because at the point that we were out there was no decision. Nothing had been decided yet. We were so early on in it and leading thousands of people in these marches. There was so many people, and it was so undecided at that point. Yeah, there were some people that were occupying space, but that was a developing thing, and it still wasn't an us versus them sort of mentality. But it became that pretty quickly after just a few weeks of us having success. That's when the infiltration started. I'm sure it started before that, and it's funny. It was so wild being down on the street, and everybody was just accusing everybody else and of being, sort of COINTELPRO and being, snitches and the statistic. You get 12 people in a room and one of them's a snitch for whatever reason. And it's probably worse than that in some places and in some movements. And so once you started there was about 12 of us. It wasn't 6 or 7 of us. It was about 12 of us regularly. Actually, it was quite a few more of us than that, but there's sort of a dozen core of us or whatever. And I don't know if anybody there was someone that someone they pretended they weren't and was there to feed information to anybody else, but they didn't accomplish anything doing it. I know that we were labeled a terrorist group by the Southern Poverty Law Center. That was pretty cool. A hate group, I guess. A terrorist group is the wrong language. It was a hate group. But we know that the Southern Poverty Law Center is one of the biggest hate groups, organized hate groups in the nation. Certainly, in terms of its influence and what it can say about other people and what people will believe from it, not understanding that it is just a horrible, horrible organization with no real drive to do anything other than to keep division and to single out other groups and other people for ideologies that they don't like, regardless of whether they're hate ideologies, whether these are hate groups. I can assure you that We Are Change was anything but a hate group. We were a love group. It was, borderline hippie crap is what it was. And a lot of, seriously, we provided our own, we rented space or were given space from different places, and we did it would move around just like businesses do over the years and things. And we would have that space, and it was open to the community, and we would bring food, and we grew gardens, and we walked out on the streets and gave out DVDs and flyers, and we talked to people about real issues, about the money and about the problems with the economy. And we did it all through, the Obama reign and through the Bush reign and through, it just, all of these things were happening. And we're all out there expressing nothing but love, speaking no hatred to anybody, not even to the state in those terms. It was all very much just, these guys are corrupt and criminal. And of course, with any of these groups, you get within them sort of sub-groups or sub-divisions of people who believe certain things and people who don't believe other things and people who will have particular viewpoints that aren't necessarily shared by everybody else, but there's a common ideology or thread somewhere that is. And so you end up in a group like that. We were associated with any number of people that theoretically could be considered hate groups because their ideology wasn't about it wasn't about inclusiveness necessarily, but ours was. And that's why those people were there. And those people were there. And people like that would be there because they were looking for something different. They were looking for a place outside of that cloistered, closed-off community of thought that they existed within already and came to one that was much more expansive. And even within that group, you can find other people. If there's people that their thing is the Jews, if that's all they're going to hammer on about, God love them or God hate them, however that works out, they have their thing and they have their say. And being associated with people like that, I suppose, could get you labeled as a hate group. But then let's talk about the word anti-Semitic. I don't even want to, I stay away from it. And I know there are people across the network that don't appreciate that, and they're the same type of people that would point a finger and say that because he doesn't talk about such and such thing that's problematic and that there's a reason that he does it. Well, it's not problematic except for and in the only sense of that it's a conversation that I don't have the wherewithal, the knowledge. I don't and I don't want it because it's not required for me to look at the nation state of Israel or America or any other place and criticize it for what it does to other people. Period. I don't, for whatever reason, I don't care. It doesn't matter. And vice versa, the terrorist groups that do the same thing. But this goes back to the quote. Remember who is it that would say this quote? Who said this quote? I get paid to rob, cage, and murder people using political and social opinions as an excuse, and I just don't understand why people don't like me. Who says that? Well, we know who says that, and it's the same type of people. It's the same type of people that go around pushing their weight, pushing their authority, misusing and abusing everything and everyone in their path, and they do it for decades and decades at a time, and then as soon as somebody's fed up with it, they're a terrorist group. No, these people in these masks and this police state that we have supposedly wasn't supposed to exist. And I certainly am of a mind that thinks that it's a bad thing and that the nationalism isn't going to make it any better, that there's nothing historical that is going to show that it's going to make it better. And again, that there's none of these things that all y'all worship so much. I had to get me an all y'all in there. It's been a while. I typed it out earlier when I was talking to somebody and all y'all. And I hadn't said that in a while. I am not from Texas. I am from Colorado, but we're really, really close, and some of that language definitely bleeds over in there. I will definitely drop a y'all on you every once in a while, and I'll get a little bit Southern in the sound because clearly there's a drawl in there, and I'm a bit of a mimic. If get me buzzed. Get a couple of shots in me and get me around somebody from the South, and all of a sudden I sound like them. It's just the weirdest thing. And obviously I'm doing it on purpose, but I'm doing it on purpose because I'm able to. It comes to me quite naturally, and it's just because Colorado is just not that far from Texas. That's just the facts, boys and girls. You can hear it in there, right? It almost that what's his name? The Matthew. The guy, the guy. Do you got a joint? Do you have a joint? Well, you'd be a lot cooler if you did. Well, all right. That guy, that Matthew, whatever his name is. At any rate, yeah, it slips in there every once in a while. So I have 6 or 7. There's like 45 minutes more to go to get used to it. 41 minutes. 6 or 7 links up there for you to peruse at your leisure, and we're going to take a look at some. I say we look at the fun one first. All this other stuff, none of these are going to be new by the time you hear this, that's for sure, because I still have years of links of things that I've never shared with you, because I just share so many links with myself in the off chance that I'll use them, and then and this, long before it was a thing, I always did 6 or 7 links, so I may be getting away with it right now, but I have a valid reason to be able to get away with it, because I have always done 6 or 7 links. That has always been the thing. Every once in a while, I'll fall back to 5, but most of the time it's 6 or 7. So there's all these various links out there. I'll give them to you, and then we'll do the fun one. So the first one is the thing about the political left and the sort of foolish, idealistic, youthful ignorance that gets them to the point where they're ready to wage war, and we can go back and forth and talking about which side ratchets up what. It doesn't matter. It's a constant ratcheting up. That's the only thing that matters. None of it actually changes. Nothing gets fixed. Just the rhetoric gets worse. And leading up to these protests, these No King protests, was nothing but a bunch of rhetoric. It was rhetoric from the right about how dangerous it was, and the sort of mostly peaceful jokes that, holdovers from the last time we had the same president that we have, and we have riots and things in the streets. And the rhetoric from the left then, of course, was a lot to do with like this link here that I shared with you. And again, you can check them out as you feel. Let's see, both, and it was interesting because that right there, the political violence, the flag waving, the anti-flag waving. There was people out there. I hate it when pop culture seeps into something like that. It did it during the Occupy protest, because that's when Anonymous popped up, and Anonymous and the use of the Guy Fawkes masks and all that. And for what it's worth, I've made my arguments there. I'm on record about it. It's whatever it is, and it was whatever it was at the time. But it just gives other people that could enjoy the pop culture the bad image of what it might be that they're getting into. And these guys they've latched on to the One Piece flag. It seems to be happening because One Piece, I've talked to you about it a little bit. It's probably the longest running anime manga in history, and the ridiculous number of episodes, well over 1,000 episodes, something like that. And they just started a new season. It's still going. It's a fun story. It's about the adventure. It's about the journey. It's about the quest, ultimately, and it's a very anarchistic society. There's one sort of law enforcement, these Marines that go around and try to make everybody compliant, but the fact is that everything's basically islands, and so it's an interesting take on something that you see in human-sized productions of universal-wide ideas. It happened in Star Wars, where you get these, an entire planet that's an ice planet, and it's because that's it fits that storyline. Well, all the little islands in One Piece are all their own separate little islands. One's just an island with a restaurant on it, or something like that, and one's just one island where there's a castle, and they're always worried about the pirates, and the pirates never come, but the pirates were actually there all along. And there's just all these different cloistered little places where it makes it easy for them to have apparently well over 1,000 adventures, and there's sort of no rules, but they're good people, and they try to be good to each other, and they want other people to be good to them, and they learn their lessons, and they grow a little bit, as much as any cartoon character can, I guess. But these protesters around the world have adopted the one-piece flag, and it's just kind of disappointing to see it in some of these places, because these people are so shallow and so foolish and ignorant in what it is that they are protesting and what they're asking for, and the things that they're claiming that they stand for. It's very hypocritical to be saying no kings, but then offering little crowns to all these little, just a little shot of crown, to all of these little petty dictators along the way, giving them votes, giving them power. They're all, instead of one king, might be nice to have one king every once in a while, just so you can go, look, that's the bad guy. Maybe everybody else isn't the bad guy, but when it's democracy, we talked about this before, when it's democracy, everybody's a bad guy. Your neighbor's a bad guy. Your neighbor just voted to take what was yours, and you can't trust anybody. Because nobody's in it for the long haul. Nobody's in it for the betterment of society, because they're all about trying to take for themselves. And I'm the first person to jump out there and say, you need to do what you need to do to make yourself feel better and chase your bliss and be happy. It's better for the rest of the world if you're happy, so long as you're not violating other people and their property along the way. And we can't go into all those conversations every single time I mention one of those things. But I thought it was very sort of one-sided and very foolish and ignorant. These words you will hear me use again and again when you're talking about the electorate. And to be marching and holding their signs and claiming no kings and still asking for the handouts and the socialism, and it's all just a case of you don't really care about the money. There's nobody crying about the money except when it goes to somebody or something that they don't approve of. What's the thing now is the Afghanistan thing. I don't know. It's $40 million or $40 billion. What does it matter? Does any of that does any of it matter at all? Does any of it matter where that money went to, other than the American people that it was stolen from? Does it matter if it went to that person over there? Does it matter that it went to some American people and not other American people? Is it fair that some of them get it and some of them don't? Are these the questions that we're going to continue to sit here and ask? That's what the statists ask. That's what the people who accept this ask. It's not what I ask. It's not what the anarchist is going to ask. We're going to ask you, the voluntarist, even the agorist, is going to ask you, is it voluntary? Are you forcing me to comply with the things that you want? Are you stealing from me to fund those other things? I don't care what those other things are for. I care that you're stealing from somebody for any reason to fund them, whatever they are. That's the facts of it. And if we can't have that conversation, and if you don't like me for saying it, I'm not the one with the problem. It's clearly you. There's no question about that in any sense of morality or any sense of logic or any sense of reason whatsoever. I'm not the bad guy in that situation. I'm never the bad guy. That's the facts. You're not going to find me on the wrong side of an issue of morality. You won't find me with the statists. You won't find me with the collective. You will find me on the side of the individual and individual right. Every single time when there is no victim, there is no crime. Every single time. Every single time. But they're doing that. They're waving their flags, and they both blame each other equally for the government shutdown. Relatively speaking, everybody, excuse me, anybody that is asked, anybody that's been polled about it, ultimately, it's shifted, and as it always does, but ultimately it says that everybody is pretty well equally blames both sides, that it's government's fault, not Republicans, not Democrats. All of them, government, everyone, every single one of them, just like I've been saying for a long time. It's nice for the rest of you to catch up. Couple more links. AI is making students into exactly what the state has always wanted them to be. These are a couple of articles you might want to follow up on. These ones are really neat, interesting, disturbing. Shallow thinkers who can quickly spit out answers. And we've talked about this. I can explain the AI to you again in more detail anytime you want. In more disturbing AI news, or is it AI news that is more disturbing? At any rate, the human body reacts to AI music differently than it does to human-made music. I think it's obvious why. I think that AI music would be relatively flawless, and the human mind doesn't accept things that are flawless. Oh, wow, that just hit me. It just hit me what what that's like, with the pop culture reference that is. That's the Matrix, right? The resets, the reversions, the revisions of the Matrix were all because it was too perfect. They had to introduce flaws, and of course introducing flaws introduces anarchy, chaos, all of these things into the system, and so the system is no longer secure. And this is exactly what it is with AI. I believe this 100%. I believe that it's too perfect, it's too obvious. It's just like the AI voices. AI voices don't breathe. It's very easy to tell an AI voice because it doesn't breathe. Humans breathe. And so it's really easy to tell in a conversation whether or not something is breathing or not. I don't think it's able to fake that yet. First of all, it goes through and purposely tries to eliminate any natural things like an or those kind of things. There's just interjections that aren't really words or anything. It goes through and ignores those. If you ask any AI what those are, it ignores those things. I helped train AI years ago to ignore those things very specifically, and I'm glad, looking back on it, thinking that I did, and for having AI to dismiss those things because it doesn't understand those things, and you'll always be able to tell AI speaking because it doesn't breathe. It doesn't breathe naturally. There's no. You just have to listen. You have to develop an ear for it. Now, of course, you're going to hear me every time I inhale. Every time I'm going to have to turn away from the microphone, especially if it's a hard one. Let's see. Those links are up there. You can check those out. If you can't win them over with the real results and you baffle them with a bunch of BS and you make claims that can't be substantiated because the claims are based on things that didn't happen, and that is the world of climate change fear porn, there's a link up there. Kid Rock was everywhere here last week or so. It's stirring up controversies in a couple of different places. Again, 6 or 7 links are up there. This is one of them. Dubious at best, these claims that he's making. First, he says that the Trump military invasion of Democrat cities is doing more good than harm. That remains to be seen. Really in terms of the precedent that it sets and what the next guy will do and what the next guy will do and the ratcheting up, he's completely wrong. Is absolutely wrong. But he's also going around, he's mad at Ticketmaster. This has been a thing for many years. And he's calling Ticketmaster criminal for charging what they do for tickets, and for, more importantly, I think, not making a greater effort to sort of prevent fraud in the secondary market, which I'm not sure that that's their job to do. It is if they own the marketplaces that exchange the tickets, and that would stop if there were physical tickets. You go back to physical tickets, which we basically have physical tickets in the digital world anyway. It's sent to my phone, and once it's mine, I have to send it to somebody else, and I have the ability, or should have the ability, to sell it if I don't want it. It's not like I'm making a reservation for me. I'm just buying a seat amongst many other seats. I should have the right to resell it. So all these things come into question and have been over the years, and Ticketmaster, Live Nation, they've been problematic. I'm not suggesting that there aren't issues, but I am suggesting that Kid Rock needs to go and find himself a copy of iPencil in some format or another, in a written format or a video, or just somebody describing it like me. iPencil is the Austrian libertarian idea that the markets, that products, that things are interconnected, and they're interconnected freely, and that really no man is an island, particularly when we're talking about meeting needs other than our own very basic needs. And even those at this point in reality are very tough to meet without having met some other needs that somebody else has to accomplish or help you with, or have done something for you to be able to do it in the first place. So iPencil is no single individual man can really make a pencil. And you philosophically, you can argue that. Logistically, pretty tough to argue because of all the different tools that it takes to make the typical pencil. You have the graphite in the middle that they used to call lead, the graphite that has to be mined and has to be crushed and reformed and presented, and you have to have the factories and the machines that are able to do that, and the mining equipment that are able to do that, and there's the wood, and it's the same thing. It's just like the mining equipment. You have to have the equipment and the people and the places to be able to acquire the wood for it. You can make your own rudimentary pencil, absolutely, sure. Go out and cut yourself some wood, whatever, grind it up. There's any number of ways that you could make yourself your own writing instrument. But to make the pencil that I'm holding in my hands, it requires more than one person. There's the eraser. There's the little metal end that holds the eraser. There's the printing on it that announces what company made it and who it's from and what company paid to have their logo put on it. And I'm just that my pencil has that, in case you're wondering. But the general point is, the philosophical point is that we're not an island, that nobody does this stuff alone, and it works with this Ticketmaster thing in Kid Rock too, because Kid Rock is saying, well, the artist sets the price that they want for the ticket, and that should be it. Well, just exactly who the hell do you think you are at that point? Let me give you a clue. Kid Rock, a great artist in his own right, has some wonderful music and can rap really well, and he has some great instruments, some musicians behind him playing some instruments, and he makes a pretty decent little rock song. He has some fun. You have some things that are poignant, whatever. It's Kid Rock. But he's not as big as Pearl Jam, and Pearl Jam tried to do it. Pearl Jam actually tried to take this was early 2000s, I think, maybe 2006 or something like this. This is all, you can go look this up. It's like anything I talk about. It's probably common knowledge. Yeah, right. We're getting into that. We're going to that next. Pearl Jam tried it, and they failed. And they said, we're going to go it without Ticketmaster. We're going to do it alone. We're going to manage it. So what they're saying when they do that, a big rock act like this, let's just say they have one show in every state. That's 50 shows, and we know it's more like 150. But let's just say 50 shows, one in every state. What are the logistics of that? When you don't own the bars, you don't own the venues, you have to go yourself, or you have to hire somebody to do it for you. You have to go and you have to approach all of these venues, and you have to handle everything, every single thing in securing the venues. And, obviously Ticketmaster and these places, they've created this space many, many years ago for people to do that. It was a huge disaster. It was just a huge disaster. It didn't work. There's no way it can work because nobody can do this on their own. Nobody can present like this. If Kid Rock wants to play in local dive bars and just show up, pay cash at the door like he was still doing, coming up in Detroit, then he can set the ticket price with every single little dive bar that he drives to on his tour bus. But if he wants to do an American tour, he wants to do a world tour, he wants to go places where he isn't and where he doesn't have the logistics already in place to go in there and arrange these things for him, especially on the larger scale. The smaller scale it's different. Again, if you want to pick up the phone and call the dive bar and say, hey, we'd like to come in on such and such a date, you're open, great, fantastic. We want $35 a ticket. You guys get $5 at the door for yourselves, whatever. I don't know what the numbers are. I don't even care. It doesn't matter. Again, we're talking about the general idea that these people are going to do this all themselves. That's the way you used to do it, and that's how road bands do it. Coming up. That's not how professionals do it. Professionals hire people and spend money to hire other people to do the work for them professionally. And while Kid Rock may be right on a great many things, he may also be wrong on a great many things, and that's definitely one of them. His attitude towards them needs to change in terms of, instead of attacking them and trying to tear down what already has, he either needs to build up a parallel system. This is what I talk about all the time. You don't like the government? Build parallel systems. You don't like the way capitalists spend their money? Build parallel systems. Use your resources, your tools, your money, your mouth to carve the way for you to build something else, something better, something different, something that you find acceptable, that they're not in control of those people that you don't like. That's it. That's the answer. And it's the answer for Kid Rock in this case, too. It just truly is. No question in my mind about it. Listening to him speak in those very specific terms, just the first words out of his mouth that I really heard on the subject were this idea that the artist sets the ticket price and that's the price it should be. Well, yeah, great. Hopefully you can afford to pay all of the other people. And I shouldn't have to tell this to Kid Rock. That's the crazy thing about it. Nobody should have to tell them. Well, I'm not telling this to Kid Rock because Kid Rock will never hear me say it. Seems unlikely. If you know him, give it to it. I'd be happy to chat with him. He can come on here and he can tell me I'm wrong, and I'll let him tell me I'm wrong. I won't be. I won't be, but I'll let him tell me that. I have nothing against the guy, but when you're wrong, you're wrong. So people throw around the phrase common sense like the average idiot knows what that person means by it when they say common sense. Well, what does it mean? What does common sense mean? I'll be damned if I know. If it's not voluntary interaction and things like that I talk about all the time, then I don't know what it is. So let's look at 30 so-called common sense things. Just have a little bit of fun the last 20 minutes here. And to see how far we get into this thing. Let's see, who is this from? E-Bombs World. I have no idea what that is, but, that's why the links are there. So it says, not so common sense, 30 obvious things that most people aren't aware of. Story by EBW Curation Editor, whoever EBW is. It sounds like somebody who's going to hijack a plane. Right? Huh? Give it where it's due. All right, so this is one of these clickbait things. I guess I didn't realize that, so I'm going to have to click back already because it wants to auto-play for you, and I don't want it to do that. I want it to go when I want it to go. And we start off with Robin Williams looking at scans of people's... I don't know what the image has to do with it. Let's get into it. It's 30 common sense, obvious things... obvious common sense things that most people don't know. Let's see what it is. The world has a plethora of secrets and hidden knowledge. Sometimes you learn these things when you start a new job or during a lengthy career. Other times you may find them by having a friend or family member working in a said field. So we're talking about careers here. These aren't necessarily common sense things. These are just things that you might know if you have a career. So it's already failed the litmus test of common sense, it would seem. We'll see. You know how I am with these things. I'm very critical of them because they're pretty poorly done. Let's face it, it's piss poor in so many cases. Even the ones that are good are so badly presented, and they spend so much more time trying to aggrandize what it is that they're talking about and to get your attention as opposed to just concentrating on producing something of quality that actually makes sense and that actually fits with the headline. Common sense, 30 obvious things that most people don't know. All right, well, we'll see. Let's see. Professionals dish out tricks of the trade that most people wouldn't know unless they had years of select experience. So again, it just fails the test, right? It's not common sense. It's specialized career sense. You jackasses. Oh my God. Why? Never write an email you don't want read back to you in a deposition. Never say anything bad in writing. Yeah, absolutely. I'm a lawyer. This guy says he's a lawyer, whoever this guy is. Primarily white-collar and commercial securities litigation. You can't type. Either that or whoever his editor is here can't figure out how to use a space bar because there's multiple times now I've already seen that there's no space between a period and the next letter, the next sentence. Even if your email is not relevant or admitting wrong, why do I do this to myself? Am I just that stupid or that much of a glutton for punishment? Every time I open one of these things, And I don't even want to do that. All I want to do is have fun and just enjoy the thing, but it's just so poorly presented every time, and it's never what it says it's supposed to be. It tells me it's anti-gun thing, it's pro-gun thing, disguised as anti-gun to try to get the anti-gunners to come look at something. You tell me it's pro-gun, it's anti-gun, because it's anti-gunners trying to get the pro-gunners to come look at something. I'm sick of it. Can't you just say what you mean to say? Can't you just stop speaking out of the side of your mouth and stop trying to present yourself in a certain way and just be a certain way? Just be. Just be. And this is coming from somebody who has to write things and has to come up with headlines and attractive ideas just to promote my speaking for 2 hours every week. Yeah, don't ever put anything in writing. It's like me saying something negative, even jokingly about insurance or something like that in relation to a property or a business or something like that, and where somebody might say, oh, the best thing that could happen is it burn down, and then it burns down, and of course that's going to come back to haunt my silly little butt. But I would never say anything like that, because even here in the heat of the moment, I'm not going to say anything that's going to get me thrown in jail unless it's one of these violations of opinion that I shouldn't be being accosted for or thrown in jail for. Let's see. The other day I read 5 Valentine's Day emails from the same guy to 5 different coworkers. That's sad, and the fact that you use that as your example is sad. This just sucks. I'm an idiot. Oceanographer here. Climate change is a thing, and we are causing it. Now we get down to it, don't we? Isn't there always some leftist agenda somewhere hidden in this, some socialist New World Order agenda, somebody trying to manipulate the idea? This is a common sense thing. It's supposed to be common sense that we understand something so complicated that the weather people can't even get it right from one day to the next, let alone decade after decade after decade, and not even understanding where we came from before, let alone where it is we're going and what innovations and things might change in our lifetime to support or to change the course that we're currently on, if you believe the very short analysis, human analysis. Excuse me. Jesus. I have a drink here. So, the very human analysis of something that isn't human, the very short-term analysis, short-term human analysis of something that is very long-term not human. That's what I'm getting at. So climate change is real, and it's because the coral reefs and the bleach this and that and the other thing and more acidic, and we did that. You and I, it's our fault. He flies all around the world studying this stuff, and is probably rich and probably chopped down a few trees to print his books. I didn't do any of those things. All I did was be here and do the best that I can in my space. And I keep myself clean and my space clean. I think when you're talking about the we who did this, if it's anybody, it's governments. If it's anybody, it's manipulations of markets. It's the quashing of ideas that would take us to new levels. It's the legislation that says we can't build more nuclear power plants for whatever reason in this state or that space or this place or whatever it is, and the things that have set us back from advancing, the things that have been unnecessary shackles on human development and human innovation. These are the things that are being stifled, and we'll never understand the damage that those things could have mitigated, the damage that those things could have mitigated, because we'll never realize them. Never. That's why I was saying in the last of my 6 or 7 articles that are up there, it's literally 7, but I got you again. It was literally what I was just saying about the climate change fear porn thing. Go there and look at it. It's they make all these claims and try to substantiate them based on things that were not proven, on negatives. And there you go. Man, I'm just drying up here. It might have something to do with I'm drinking coffee You know how that can be. It's not straight up water, so it's not necessarily quenching the thirst, and I'm speaking for minutes at a time, seemingly without a breath. But I am not AI. It's literally just the same thing I was talking about just a moment ago. And it just blows my mind that I don't try to do this stuff. It just happens. And it just happens because there's so much of it. There's so much of it. Let's see. When arc welding, you must protect your skin from the light, not just your eyes. No kidding. That's why you cover up from the sun. You don't put chemicals on your skin. You wear a long-sleeve shirt, something lightweight, something that allows you to breathe but protects you from the sun. This is nothing genius. If you've never known a welder that has a sunburn, a welder's burn, and not just the eyes, not just where you take the cucumbers and put them over the eyes and cool off the eye. I grew up with a stepfather who was a welder, and a good welder, somebody who could weld underwater and had passed all the most complicated tests for being a welder, but he couldn't pass his scuba. Well, anyway, but he could weld like an SOB. And so, yeah, I'm familiar with welding, and I'm familiar with the burn, and I'm familiar with the flash, and yeah, but who cares? Let's see. It's got to be to demonize something. Let me finish. I didn't get to the punchline, did I? I didn't give him a chance to demonize something. Silly me. Welding unprotected is like putting your face right in front of the tanning bed on steroids. The horrific amount of plastic we go through in science. Not all research is about curing cancer or other diseases, which contributes regularly to my existential crisis, but I digress. That seems like an incomplete thought to me. I know I've just sat here for the last 5 minutes and said I'm stupid for even opening this thing up and pretending like there was a chance that it would make one bit of goddamn sense at all. And this is what I get. You can go look. The link is there. You can go look for yourself. If you're watching the video, you're seeing exactly the same thing that I'm seeing. It's an incomplete goddamn statement. It's completely missing. There's nothing there. There's no context. This is just ridiculous. Oh, my God. Why does this have to happen? I try my best. All I wanted to do was have fun and see, what do they think is common sense? We didn't get past page 1. 911, I still do not have your exact location, and unless you call me from a landline. Who cares? And I get 24 more this. Let's see. If the service you're receiving is free, then you are the product. It's a nice philosophical statement. Nothing is free. And stop pretending it is. And stop pretending like you don't know. This is the same claim as the first claim. As the very first claim about don't put it in writing. Don't put stuff in writing. It was literally the same claim. You're on somebody else's playground. Hello. Me here talking with my own playground carved out. You're playing in somebody else's playground. They're letting you play for free. What did you think was happening? This is the most common sense thing they've come up with yet in 7 things. Turning it off and on again actually does fix a great deal of problems. It's true. Absolutely. I love the IT crowd. Did you ever watch that? It's one of the Graham Lineham British shows, the IT crowd, and that's the first thing. It's literally the first line of the show, introducing the actual IT guys. There's some stuff before that, just a brief interlude introducing the main character to begin with, but then the other two main characters, the actual IT guys, it's the first line out of their mouths. Have you turned it off and on again? Have you tried turning it off and on again? In fact, they roll it on a reel-to-reel that answer, an old school reel-to-reel machine that they have set up to answer the machine sometimes, and they're servicing this entire office building, this giant office building. And so, every time the phone rings, that it's either that, some message. Have you tried turning it off and on again? Hey, what do you mean? Is it on again? That's the sound. There it is. It's booting up right there. What are you from the past? You don't know what these things are. We haven't been using these things for the last 30 years, and you would have to be completely clueless to not know what's going on in them. At least they're getting to something in here that's a little bit. At least if nothing else causes me to remember something fondly. Oh my God. Let's see. I like AI video and image generators. There's absolute no aspect of shoeing a horse that hurts it. Yeah, that's a fact. It's just like fingernails, just like clipping your own fingernails. It'd be if you pierced your own fingernails, not the finger, but the fingernails. It's the same material. Museum security, no, I don't have a gun. I'm here to tell you where the bathrooms are, not to take a bullet for the Monet. No one tries to steal the artwork. I had to be here because that's hilarious that they because at this point it just happened just the other day, the heist at the Louvre. So oh my God. Oh man. So good. Don't try and guess the letters on the eye test chart. The whole point of the exam is for us to give you the best vision possible. That's true. They should probably say that. And this is another one of these areas where I actually have experience. I actually know what I'm talking about, which is so much of life. But, my best friend for many, many decades has been an optometrist, and it was an optometrist. He hasn't been for a number of years now, maybe 8 years or something like that now. But for since high school, he'd been cutting lenses and ran multiple successful lens crafter stores and privately owned doctor's offices as well. It was a conglomerate of eye doctors that own their own eyeglass studio, and he was the head of it, and he cut all the glasses and everything right there on site, and so I have a lot of experience around these things, and they actually should, the doctors actually should say, don't guess. Actually see, and just tell people outright, don't guess. Tell me what you actually see. Don't try to guess what it is. Don't try to imagine it because it helps. This is the point. And there are different ways that your eyes can be reading things vertically, horizontally, and the distortions that exist within them, depending on what way the cornea has been altered in your eye with age or from damage or whatever it happens to be. Yes, again, another subject I know a lot about. Just something that there's no reason why I should know anything about it, except that I have a best friend that's done it forever, and I just spent many, many hours around him and around the doctors, and I just have this sense about it. Historian, truth is always relative, dependent on the perspective of the truth teller, and always constructed in some capacity. Every source must be subject to critical assessment. That's not true. It's absolutely not true. Truth is true. It's right there. It's definable. It's not about who's telling it. If it's not true from the person who's telling it, then they're not telling you the truth. They're not telling you history. They're not telling you fact. They're telling you a story. That's it. So it's a false statement. It's not a good statement. It's not the right statement. It's not a positive, affirmative statement that sends people away thinking positively about their ability to determine whether something is garbage or not. Anesthesiology, if you eat before your surgery, the chances of you dying or getting badly hurt increase exponentially. Anesthesia makes you more likely to vomit, and since you're unconscious, you can't prevent your acidic throw-up from going into your lungs. Again, you shouldn't need to know this. Your doctor should be telling you this. This isn't common sense. This is very specialized sense, because I don't know about you, but I've never been anesthetized. And I don't think I know anybody. Well, no, that's not true. I absolutely do know people who have been under completely for surgery. So I can't say that for a fact. I have never been anesthetized. And, knock on wood, I'll never have to be anesthetized. That's not common knowledge. Again, it's specialized knowledge. It's interesting that they choose the back and forth from the obvious things that are what you could call common sense to these things that are very much specialized and very much about claims. You know, the guy here telling us about historian and truth. Well, this truth is all relative to somebody's perspective because it's not truth. That's for sure. It's not cold, hard facts by any means. We got 2 more minutes to get through a couple more of these. Did we do them all? Was that all? No, we're not. There was like 30 of them when we're halfway through. I can't diagnose you or tell you whether you have naughty thoughts by looking at your brain scan. Oh, that's not true. That's absolutely not true. Specifically not looking at the brain scan, but if you do know what you're looking for looking at the brain scan, you absolutely can. Because for the brain to acknowledge it, there is a recognition in the brain. So if something turns you on, whether it's just a fleeting image or whatever it is, it registers in the brain. That's absolutely not true. It's interesting the things that they're choosing to say in this. This is so weird. When the cops tell you have the right to remain silent, use that right. Absolutely. STFU. Shut up. Don't say nothing. Don't say nothing. Don't even demand that you have the right. Just don't talk to them. You don't have to answer their questions. Tell them your name, address, and serial number. I don't know, whatever. Let's see. Work at a credit union. I'm not asking you for your ID to personally offend you or to imply that I have authority over you. I'm asking for it because I will get fired if I don't. What a weird thing to include in there, but factual. Stop harassing people for doing things like checking your identification when you know your ID can be checked. Stop harassing people for checking your cart and checking your receipt when you leave Walmart when you know damn well that all you have to do is have your receipt right there and that if you have stuff sticking out of your cart that you're going to be asked about it. I'm in Walmart all the time. All the time. I know when I'm going to get checked. And I also almost always carry the receipt right there, open in my hand so they can see that I have it. And you know what they do? They wave me right on by. And you know what I'm not? A dick to people for unreasonable reasons. I'll be back next week with Dr. Dean Lloyd. Until then, take care.
You're listening to Toward Anarchy on the Republic Broadcasting Network.